Hi, I'm Owen. I'm an animal artist, and today I'm going to take you through the process of making my first ever repeating pattern. I draw a lot of birds, so I thought it'd only be fitting if I theme it around those. So I started off with some warm-up sketches of some British birds, because that's where I'm from and it's a subject that I'm familiar with. So I thought it'd be fun to sketch those and make them into a repeating pattern with maybe some foliage that you'd see around here too. So these sketches were just kind of to wrap my head around what works, what doesn't work, what birds I'd maybe like to use, and how to structure all the branches and leaves and make them work together. And that's how this spread turned out. So from that, I went searching for the different types of birds that I'd like to include, and the plants and flowers as well. I looked through Flickr, I looked through Pinterest, just general reference gathering that I can use to piece together this final pattern and fill it up with lots of plants and birds and make it look all nice and pretty and complete together. From there, I moved into digital, just like an online collaborative drawing thing, and just played around with piecing things together. You'll see my girlfriend added a couple extra additions as well. But this helped me just move around stuff really easy and plan out a general composition with colours as well. The next step is where it all starts to come together, and that's deciding on the layout. So I decided to use a half drop pattern repeat, which essentially takes this grid of 6 squares and it repeats it above, below, and then at the sides, but with a slight offset just to skew the repeat. It makes a little more sense with some numbers, so I'll add those in. And that page is probably best to screenshot just to work from and like fully wrap your head around, because it does take a while. Or if you have a Skillshare membership, there's a wonderful course by Catherine Jennifer called Painting for Pattern Design, which is what I used to learn all about this, and she goes through it really well. And I definitely highly recommend that if that's something that you have. So in the background you can see that I'm working on my first proper thumbnail sketches. I've been starting with the grid we've been talking about, splitting it up into 6 squares, and kind of figuring out how those are going to repeat using the logic of the diagram on the left there. And these are all based off the digital one that I did previously, and will hopefully be a better starting point to do a slightly larger sketch from. My favorite thumbnail sketch was the second one, so I took a photo of it and I brought it into Photoshop so that I could test how well the tile would repeat, and it did pretty well. It did help me see some of the blank areas and some areas that were a bit too crowded that I can then change for the final big sketch. So I moved on to the final big sketch, and I did it at the size that I was going to do the pattern so that I could easily transfer it onto the final paper if I was happy with the sketch. It was mostly just using the references in combination with my thumbnail sketches to just blow it up, make it more detailed, and lay it out exactly how I wanted it. And this is how it turned out. I wasn't completely happy with it when I checked the repeat. Some things were a little off, so I went back in and I made a new sketch based off the previous one and just made those really small adjustments, just so I was confident that when it came to the pattern, it would all repeat nicely and be a bit easier to paint. and now it was time to work on the final painting. I streamed my whole process over my Twitch channel, and I was very lucky to be sponsored by Skillshare to do these, which is where I learned how to make this pattern. I believe my 1 month free trial link still works, so if you're interested yourself, you can check it out. This video has nothing to do with Skillshare, but I just wanted to put that out there in case you do. I worked on each of the little squares individually and then just joining them whenever a subject crossed over the lines. This just helped me from shuffling them around while I was painting and causing a bit of a mess. And then every so often I would join them all up and just see that everything was coming together correctly. I started with a rough watercolor base for everything, which just helped me block out all the sections and colors. And then I layered the watercolor on it a couple of times before adding some colored pencil details. This just helped make everything stand out a little more. The whole painting process probably took about 10 hours, but bearing in mind that was mostly because I was streaming at the same time, so it could very easily have been halved. The branches are one of the most fun aspects of this piece, as it's something that I'm not used to, and trying to make them all join up and flow together was a challenge, but it was quite fun at the same time and very freeing. This is just me checking each one of the repeats and making sure everything lines up correctly and whether I need to add in any extra details that have been accidentally missed out. Here's a time lapse of the rest of the detailing process. It's quite slow, so I'll spare you a very long-winded cut of it all, which my viewers are forced to watch live. And then it was just the final steps of joining it all together. I hope you like the final outcome.